here. I have only one rule here. If it's animated, I'll comment on it. And I'm finally back! Where was I, you ask? Well, I haven't spent the last 2 weeks stuck in a blinding existential terror knowing that the second the protective barrier I have around my house fails, I'm going to be torn to shreds by a mysterious man named Vader who wants me dead for some reason. No, it wasn't that at all. Actually, that's a lie. I've been spending the last 2 weeks sleeping, which is why I'm still half wearing my kigurumi. Tonikaku, let's get back to my regular reviews with something I know is going to crank my corneas, namely Tokyo Ghoul. This one's been in the works for a while, folks, so I'm pretty excited. Tokyo Ghoul is a shonen anime series produced by Pierrot and is adapted from the manga series of the same name written by Sui Ishida. The series premiered on Tokyo MX in 2014 with a total of 24 episodes with 2 OVAs over 2 seasons, with the second season entitled Tokyo Ghoul Route A. A live-action film of the property is currently in the works as well. Oh man, am I excited! This anime should be right up my blood-stained alley. So let's not waste any more time, people. Let's just take a big bite out of Tokyo Ghoul. It's true that when I first set my gaze on this anime, I felt it to be the perfect thing to satisfy the horrendous bloodlust licking my insides like a terrible monster. But the more I watched, the more I felt my initial excitement slowly draining away, like a balloon farting itself out through the air. To the point, this series revolves around Ken Kaneki, a young college student who lives a fairly normal life. That is, until he meets a beautiful woman named Rise Kamishiro, who takes an immediate interest in him. Following a nice day out on the town, Rise reveals herself to be a ghoul, a type of person who consumes only human flesh for sustenance and attacks Kaneki. However, a freak accident occurs, killing Rise and mortally wounding Kaneki. In order to save him, Kaneki receives some organs from Rise, which subsequently turns him into a half-ghoul himself. Now Kaneki must find a way to maintain his humanity while living the harrowing life of a ghoul, all the while coming under the protection of a ghoul-run coffee shop called Anteiku, and trying to stay one step ahead of the ghoul-hunting organization, the Commission of Counter-Ghoul, aka the CCG. That all sounds just fascinating, doesn't it? Well, would you be surprised if I told you that everything I described is only from the first goddamn episode alone? I'll be addressing that more, though I will say this. Though the concept has been done before quite a lot, it's not exactly terrible. It's the execution that makes it terrible, though again, I'll go into more detail a little while. This doesn't seem like it's going to bode well for the rest of it. Still, I'll give it the benefit of the doubt for now. Let's just move on to the characters. Okay, listen, I'm not going to mince words here. I don't really have high hopes for these characters because in all honesty, shonen anime isn't exactly a breeding ground for depth of character. Still, no use puttering around Assumption Lane, let's just merge into Explanation Street. That was a weird comparison, but whatever. So this leech of a protagonist is Ken Kaneki, a college student who inadvertently gets himself turned into a half-ghoul after having a ghoul's organs transplanted into him. Kaneki works at the coffee shop Anteiku, trying desperately to maintain his humanity and quell his new ghoulish urges to consume human flesh. Oh, come on, seriously? How can you possibly make this character bad? His turmoil is perfect for narrative exploration, so why is it that Kaneki does nothing but cry, scream, and whine the whole piss-dripping time? And when he's not doing that, he's standing around being all stoic and broken. I commend the creators for not making him a typical shonen protagonist, since he does have a level head for the most part, and doesn't always have to be the center of attention, but his constant braying, sobbing, and squirming over his situation really just makes me despise him. I thought once he became deadpan and serious all over the place, he'd get more interesting. But in all honesty, he basically just faded away into nothing in my mind at that point. A bit too late for a long story short, but regardless, I just do not care for Kaneki. Next is Toka Kirishima, a rash but gentle-hearted ghoul who works part-time at Anteiku. Toka does her very best to blend in with human society, even eating her friend's home cooking despite it making her sick. Toka, to me, leaves much more of an impression than Kaneki does, since she does take action in her situation and at least has a modicum of self-awareness in her murderous exploits. Still though, I just don't find her that interesting. Nothing about who she is or what she says really stands out to me as significant, but hey, at least she isn't crying and whining all the time, yeah? There's a lot more characters to talk about, I know, but just like most anime, there are way too many to talk about to go into each one individually. In fact, that's a point of contention for me. How many goddamn characters are in this series and not a single one is interesting? So I'm just gonna have to summarize from here on out. And I apologize if I don't detail your specific waifu or husbando, but I do have a schedule to keep here. Honestly, out of the entire expansive cast, there's not a single character I can pick out as being likable, with the exception of Hinami Fueguchi, a young ghoul who lives in Anteku, and Uta, a calm, soft-spoken ghoul who runs a mask shop for humans and ghouls. Uta's design is really neat, breaking typical anime conventions, and I honestly wish he was in this series more. Actually, you know, he kinda reminds me of Manabu Ito from that ever-awesome Homunculus manga. Getting back to the matter though, well, this anime mostly has characters who are just boring, annoying, baffling, or stupid. I can say it holds the distinction of having a character I downright hate like. Namely Mirumo Tsukiyama, an eccentric gourmand ghoul who wants to eat Kaneki, believing his bodily composition will give him the ultimate flavor. Conceptually, Tsukiyama isn't awful, it's fucking everything else about him. That's awful. I'm serious, he's pretentious as fuck, loud, irritating, speaks English and Italian at random for no discernible reason, posturing, chews the scenery like it's made of human flesh, and has an orgasm whenever he sniffs Kaneki's blood. He is almost Major Max levels of aggravating. Just talking about him is making me feel sick. So let's get the fuck out of here and talk about the good things before I hurl up all over myself. Okay, now I know a lot of you out there are probably very fond of this series, and you're not going to take kindly when I get to the inevitable tsunami of bad things coming your way, so take some respite in this section here. Trust me, you'll need it. It's funny how a series that I had such high expectations for managed to disappoint me at nearly every turn, but I will say with no hesitation that this series is very well put together, from a visual standpoint. Composition-wise, it's quite bright and colorful. The animation is fluid and pleasant, without many cut frames, and the action is rather nicely choreographed, as is to be expected from something like this. At least it keeps your pupils from sliding off in boredom, is what I'm trying to say. In addition, the soundtrack, for lack of a better description, is pretty damn awesome. It uses a cinematic-style choir and orchestral score that help aid the tense and dramatic scenes. Not much, but it's definitely a score I could see myself putting onto my private playlist. And keep in mind, my private playlist is pretty damn exclusive. I mean, I don't just put anything on there. I'm really picky about my music. Oh, I mean, come on, this is my jam right here.
I'm just a kid who's 4. Each day I grow some more. I like exploring. I'm Caillou.
Alright, everyone who can't take criticism for the things that they like in Stride can just get out right now, just leave through that door. You're not gonna like what I have to say anyway, so just get out. Are they gone? Good, okay, hopefully that was all of them, so let's dig into this bitch. So firstly, the thing that drew me to this series was the potential for a really engaging moral gray area presented by the differing ideologies and actions of the ghouls and the humans. I always love stories like that, so it's mostly what excited me. But what I got was, for all intents and purposes, what I would call a baby's first moral gray area, where it only thinks it has a deep moralistic quandary to present, but in truth, it really doesn't. If it's your first dip into the disturbing murky pool of moral gray areas, then you'll most likely eat it up like the scurrying little rat you very well may be. But anyone who has even an iota of experience with such things, as I do, won't find enough enjoyment to even light up a single neuron in your cold, dead brain. And that actually joins quite nicely to my next point, which is that this series tries to establish how high the stakes are by being ultra-violent most of the time, but that carries a serious issue as well. It's the Hellsing ultimate approach to ultra-violence, in that it thinks if it turns the blood and gore up to 11 right from the get-go, it can make you think the stakes are super high too. But in all honesty, when you start out being that damn violent, you have nowhere else to go but just being more and more violent, which quickly gets boring and disappears into the black void of human consciousness before long. You want a good example of how to do ultraviolence right? Okay, how about Shiki, an incredible anime series that not only does the whole eating people is man more monster than man moral conundrum perfectly, but also handles its ultraviolence extremely well too. How so? Well, how long does it take for the characters in Shiki to resort to ultraviolence? 14 episodes. How long is that in minutes? Roughly 322 minutes, or 5 hours and 32 minutes. Now how long does it take for Tokyo Ghoul to resort to ultraviolence? 15 seconds. Yeah, you may think it's unfair of me to compare this series to Shiki, considering they don't tell the same story or have the same setting, but I will defend that comparison, since they both strive to establish the same type of moral quandary in its characters and scenario. It's just Tokyo Ghoul fails miserably at this, and Shiki succeeds with flying colors. I do apologize, I kinda ran my mouth a bit there and ranting on the same thing, but seriously, it was such a disappointment for me that I had to just run my mouth a bit. I'll be more general with my points from now on, though. In regards to the other issues I have, let's just say that in addition to the incredibly stock and lackluster character lineup, this series also has a pretty serious plot diarrhea issue, though mostly in the first season, where it tries to cram 4 whole story arcs in the span of 12 episodes. Because of this, it makes the story feel very disjointed and janky. Subsequently though, the second season cures its chronic plot diarrhea issue, and instead adopts a completely heinous, stream of consciousness-esque narrative where people are just appearing all over the place with no establishment. There's no build-up whatsoever, and every event and scene just serves to confuse even more than the previous one. Not to mention everything to do with the humans and the CCG is exceedingly dull and boring to witness. But the final nail in this series' proverbial skull is the fact that it is completely 100% bereft of any tension, build-up, or subtlety. Its method of storytelling is to just run from scene to scene, never escalating in any meaningful way, and just continue cluelessly savoring its own self-masturbatory existence. It all feels so dry and trite, and is nothing but a supreme letdown. Once again, in this situation, the series is just far too nebulous for me to pick a favorite and least favorite episode. In all honesty, the entirety of the second season could be considered my least favorite episode, but that's not really fair and it doesn't really count, so I think we're just gonna wrap it up right here and now. Tokyo Ghoul is very much a series that wastes every opportunity it has to tell a thoughtful, impactful, and engaging story, and instead opts to cement itself into the public consciousness with its easy-to-abuse imagery, such as in Kaneki's mask or white hair. It lacks the finesse that shows like Shiki and Kisei Jusei no Kakuritsu tout while telling the same story, and pathetically flounders about, desperately trying to find any meaning in its existence, throwing as much shit at the wall as it possibly can until something sticks in your mind. And in all honesty, that's just not something I can stomach. I give Tokyo Ghoul
One eye out of 5.
So, Tokyo Ghoul. Is it watchable? Actually, yes, it is. With its highly cinematic composition, impressive animation, and fight choreography, it's quite a sight to see. Is it enjoyable? Personally, I think this series is an offensive display and a huge waste of potential, but maybe if it's your first experience with this type of story, or you're a 14-year-old boy, then maybe. Possibly. Is it memorable? Tokyo Ghoul today is what Shingeki no Kyojin was a couple years ago. It's the show everybody wants to cosplay, the show on all the anime merchandise, the show getting multiple adaptations in the future. And I think that's rather unjust, to be honest. Really, the way I feel, in my personal opinion, is that people should turn their eyes to the brighter skies that deserve it. I apologize if I don't detail your particular haifu or wasbando. Sorry, let's try that again. Want to stay up to date with all the latest EyeofSol news? You can follow me on Twitter as well as on Facebook at twitter.com/EyeofSol299 and facebook.com/EyeofSol. I update them every day, so if you want to check out news on the show as well as updates, just follow the links here. Hey everybody, thanks for watching my review of Tokyo Ghoul. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I've been a bit weird with not including least favorite and favorite episodes lately, and honestly, I think that trend might continue considering what I have coming up for reviews. But you know, I'm not really doing it intentionally, I'm not doing it just to save time. It's just, I have these series that I've been reviewing that just, they've either been too good or too shit for me to choose favorite and least favorite episodes. So I will be going back to eventually, it's just, you know, with the things the way they are, it might not be for a bit. But anyway, yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the review. If you did, I would appreciate a like and a share of this review, as well as a subscription to my channel, because I always super appreciate that. I'm hoping to get to 10,000 subs by summertime. That would be really cool if I was there before summertime. If you want to check out the previous Sol episodes, you can see the annotations playing on the video right now. Or if you want to check out my various social media sites, including my Patreon account, you can see my links to my Twitter page, my Facebook page, and my Patreon account. They're on the screen for you, as well as in the description. If you have an idea for an animated series or movie you want me to comment on, you can leave me a message in the YouTube comments on any one of my social media sites, or just let me know in any way you can think of to let me know what you want to see, and I'll add it to my list. Okay? Thanks again for watching everybody, and I will see you next week for another movie review.